Hello everyone. In the last video, we talked about the unit circle, and we found that the unit circle just has a center of 0, 0, and then moving to the right one, up one, left one, and down one to create the unit circle. Then we labeled the four famous points that creates. So we found that that's 1, 0, 0, 1, negative 1, 0, and 0, negative 1. Then we gave them a couple of more nicknames. We found that if you walk around the whole unit circle, that's 2 pi. So then half of that is pi. Half of that is pi halves, or pi over 2. And then 3/4 of that would be 3 pi over 2. So we got 0, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and the whole circle is 2 pi. And then we named them numerically and saw that that was just 0, 1.57, 3.14, 4.71, and 6.28. So in this video, we're going to actually take a walk around the unit circle and talk about what it means when you make certain stops. So for right now, we're just going to walk around the block, and our block is going to be the unit circle. So let's walk some miles. So if someone asks you to walk pi miles, based on our unit circle, where would we end up? Well, we always start at our first famous point, 1, 0, and then let's walk. So let's remember, where does pi end up? So we walk around our unit circle, and pi ends up right here. That's a famous stop. I know that that point is just negative 1 comma 0. The second example asks us to walk 1 mile. So now we're not talking about in terms of pi, we're talking about in terms of the numbers. So, okay, this was 0. Up here we know was 1.57, and they want to know approximately where would 1 be. Well, if I know that walking all the way here would be 1.57, then I can kind of split that up. Come on, eraser. I could split that up in kind of 3 little stopping points here, into thirds, if you will, and say that this would be about 0.5 and that would be about 1. So if I go up 1.5, then that's about 0.5, 1, 1.5. And it doesn't have to be perfect. That's why they say to approximate. Later, when we learn more famous stops, we will be able to be a little bit more perfect in where we stop. But for this lesson, we are approximating. So you may not end up exactly at my 1, and that's okay. What we'll say is we'll give ourselves an error margin of about 0.1, 0.2. So now we're going to use what we did in the last example to try to estimate where we are. So here I am. I'm going to go about halfway, call that 0.5, and call that 0.5. So I'm going to just draw a line down to my x-axis, draw a line across to my y-axis. You do want it to be as straight as possible. So you see my lines are a little slanted, but that's okay. So my x-coordinate, I'm going to say that's about 0.5, and my y-coordinate, that's about 0.8, 0.9. I like to save my 0.9s for when it's really close, so I'm going to call that about a 0.8. All right, part C wants us to walk 2 miles. So we're still in terms of our numbers here. So I always start at 0, and then I go up. That's 1.57 up here. And if I go to my third stop, that's 3.14, which is too far. So again, these quadrants here are going at about 1.5. So when I'm on the other side here, what, 1.5, that's about 2, 2.5, and then 3. I could draw that a little bit better. Okay, that's better. So then that makes this to be about 2. And let's try to estimate, see where we are. So I know halfway, that's about negative 0.5. And then halfway up is 0.5. And so we can estimate. So I'm going to go straight down, boop, 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 and then straight to the y-axis. So my x-coordinate is about negative 0.5. And then my y-coordinate is about 0.8. Part D wants us to estimate 3 miles. So, okay, no problem. This is 0. I go backwards. Up here is 1.57. And then my third stop is 3.14. 3.1. Man, so 3 is going to be super close. Almost touching, but not. So make sure you are not because you would only touch that coordinate point if you are exactly at 3.14. So when I go straight across, that's really close here and super close here. Not at -1, but super close to it. So the x coordinate here is going to be just -0.9. zero point 0.9. Some people will say -0.99, but we don't need to do that. Just the nearest tenth is good enough. And then since we're so low down, when I go up, that's only at about zero point 0.1. Okay, so next one is 5 miles. So we start 0, 1.57, 3.14. I have to keep going, 4.71. And then if I keep going again, then I'll end up at 6.28. So I'm trying to get to 5. So that's closer to the 4.71 here, not so close to that 6.2. So now here's where that estimating comes along. I'm going to say that 5 is about right there. And so here I go. I say that's about zero point 0.5, and that's about -0.5. zero point 0.5. And then draw a line straight up and straight out. So I would say that coordinate point, this is from 0 here. So that's probably about zero point 0.3. And then that's about -0.8, zero point 0.9. 7 miles. Start at 0, 1.57, 3.14, 4.71, 6.28, and I didn't hit 7 yet, so I actually have to keep walking. And that's okay, friends, because you can walk around the block more than once. So if I keep walking from 6.28, I need to go another 1.57 miles. So that would take me to about 7.85 miles, which is great because I'm only trying to go 7. So when I'm trying to estimate where would 7 be in between this 6.28 and 7.85, well, I would say that 7 is zero point 0.8 from 6.2 and 7 is zero point 0.8 from 7.8. So that would put my 7 at about the halfway point. That's how I would estimate that. And so, okay, here's zero point 0.5, zero point 0.5. So if I'm at about halfway up, then I will be at almost halfway in both of those stops there. So it looks like I ended up at about zero point 0.6 and about zero point 0.6. Good enough. Maybe you did a better estimation and you ended up exactly at zero point 0.5 and zero point 0.5. Good. For this next one here, we're going to go to pi over 3. Just kidding, not pi over 3. We're going to go to 3 pi. So now I'm counting in terms of pi again. No problem. So this is 0. I know this one up here is pi over 2. This one is pi, and then 3 pi over 2. So I need to go 3 pi miles. So wait a minute. This is 1 pi, and then 2 pi, and then I keep walking. And 3 pi actually puts me in the exact same spot. So this would be. So at that 3 pi, that's the exact same location as pi. So that coordinate point, I'm going to draw it down here, will be at -1 comma 0. And don't worry, my laptop was trying not to let me be great. I'm going to go ahead and plug it in, so we're good to go. It's not going to lose its charge or anything. So we can keep going and have some more fun. Okay, 3.27 miles is exactly the same as almost going 3. So this would be at 0, and then 1.57, 3.14. Well, 3.2 is going to be right after 3.14. Super, super close. So where are we on the x-axis? On the x-axis, we're super close to that -1, but we're not going to touch it. So that's about -0.9. zero point 0.9. And then where are we on the y-axis? We're at like -0.1. 0.1. No big deal. Almost done. Okay, we're counting in terms of pi over 2 because now they want us to go 5 pi over 2 miles. Well, no problem. This is 0. Up here is pi over 2. And I know this is pi, but I'm going to call it 2 pi over 2. And then 3 pi over 2. And 4 pi over 2. which I know is 2 pi. And then here we are again at this point at 5 pi over 2. So what you'll find is that again, the only points that we have to estimate are anything where they ask us to walk that's not on our 4-star players. So 5 pi over 2 is part of our star players. It takes us right back to pi over 2. So what's that coordinate point? Yes, friend, that's just 0, 1. Now we have a new type of example. They want us to go negative 3 miles. Well, it's not possible to go negative, but what this is really saying is opposite. So opposite is like saying walk backwards. So instead of going counterclockwise, we're actually going to count clockwise. So if we were to walk the normal way, counterclockwise, that would take us to 1.57. But they want us to go the other way. So we start at here again, and we're going to go backwards. So this would be negative 1.57. And then if we keep walking, this would be negative 3.14. So negative 3 would end up super close, but not on it. So where are we? On the x-axis, we're at about negative 0.9. I'm going to put it down here. And then the y-axis, we're at about negative zero point 0.1. Now you want to be careful in just making sure you remember that this is our x and y axis. So you got to keep up with whether or not you're positive or negative. All right, so now we have negative pi over 2. Well, I know that if I went the quote-unquote regular way, then that would be pi over 2. But they want me to go the opposite. So go the opposite way the exact same distance. So that would take us down here, and that is our negative pi over 2. And that coordinate point, well, that is 0, comma, negative 1. Last one here, we got negative 5 pi, no problem. So go backwards, count in terms of pi. Now, okay, cool. So that's negative pi, negative 2 pi, negative 3 pi, negative 4 pi, and then negative 5 pi takes us right here. And that coordinate point is just negative 1 comma 0. Okay, that's enough walking for us. So this very last part here is going to ask us to just estimate where did we end. So don't worry about was it 2 miles, was it 1.8 miles? No, no, no. I'm just telling you where is point A. Estimate that. Where is point B? Where is point C and where is point D? You should pause the video and then do the estimations on your own. And I'm going to wait a couple of seconds, but then when I start again, the answers are going to be there. So make sure you pause the video so you can try it on your own. Okay, I'm about to put the answers up. Okay, here we go. So I would say that if you are between point 0.1 and point 0.2 up or down away from me, then that's good enough because these are just estimates. The only ones that you can't be off of is if you at like point 0.9. So you can say point 0.8, but you cannot have said 1. So that's the only thing you have to be careful of. But remember, these are estimates. So your estimates may not be the same as mine, and that's okay. What you're looking for is if I say that A is at point 0.9, comma, point 0.4, you shouldn't have point 0.2, comma, point 0.2 or point 0.1 comma point 0.9. So you can't have super far away. But if maybe you thought that this was more of a point 0.8 and more of a point 0.3-ish or point 0.5-ish, then that's okay. That's good enough. But you just want to be careful. Don't be too far off because then you don't have a good estimate. And that'll be it for us. The next video, we're going to talk about our 4-star players again, but we're going to talk about the trig functions and how they're related as well. Have fun. See you next time.